Hello everyone, I'm Said. In this video, we are going to talk about MediatR NuGet package that is very popular among developers for using along with CQRS pattern. So if you are using the CQRS command query segregation, it's really good and very straightforward and easy to use. But here we are trying to see how we can implement our own package and interfaces to use MediatR. It's kind of simple, but the package currently is big and complex, but the main idea is simple. You can easily implement your own interfaces to just run your queries and get the response. Here I have very simple case that I'm trying to send a user command and get the user response in case of the command and command handler. So our user command contains a name that is implement the iRequest user response. This is our return model that the command will return when it executed. And also the user response is only contains message property. And then we have the iMediator interface. I call the send. One of the most advantage of the MediatR is you only need to inject one interface in your controller, for example, or here in your minimal API. No need to inject lots of the repositories or services. That's really cool, actually. For adding the MediatR in the dependency injection, all you need is calling this iMediator and passing the assemblies for registering all the services and handlers. And MediatR will take care of the registering into the DI. Okay, let me run this project and see what we have here. Okay, our project is running. So if I open the Swagger here, I can execute the user command, API, and response is hello user MediatR. Where is it come from? So if I go to my handler here, command handler, I have user command handler that is implementing iRequest handler, comes from the MediatR. And then here simply I just returning this response just for keeping logic simple. Imagine that you are doing some database operation or whatever. So that's all you need for implementing and using the MediatR NuGet package. If we want to implement our own, we need to start step by step. I try to keep it very simple, but let's see. So first of all, we start with our user command. What we have here, this is the iRequest interface. Let's see what is this iRequest from the MediatR. You can see this is only a marker interface, nothing more. They are trying to just mark some classes that is using their own signature like iRequest or response. So I'm trying to copy this interface because I'm using this interface with the response. Okay, let me create another class and put all the required interface in it. My MediatR classes. Okay, first we try to use this interface. I don't need that base request. That's fine, I think. And I want to call it my request. Another one is user command handler. Here we have iRequest handler interface that is containing this method for implementing and putting your logic in it. Also, I want to copy the interface here just to keep the signature same and then implement our own logic. Also, we can put it here. Let's just remove this unnecessary comments. Okay, that's fine. Just here, I need to say the T request is based on my request type or interface. Okay, I think it's enough. We have request and also the request handler. Let's call it my request handler. What else we need? Another one is iMediator interface that is containing this method for sending your command or queries. Also, this iMediator, I think from the version 10, you can use separate the iSender interface or iPublisher interface for sending the notification or command. But here I try to use MediatR interface. So you can see that this one is implementing two interface, iSender and iPublisher. We need this iSender and I think we need this one. Okay, so here I'm gonna add another interface, my MediatR, that is containing this method, right? We need to say it accepts my request. Okay, so now I want to remove all the MediatR stuff. First point is this method is containing lots of logic just for adding your command handlers into the dependency injection. So for example, if we go in this method and also, for example, this one, you can see it tries to retrieve all the command handlers based on your assemblies and then trying to add them into the dependency injection, because at the end, your command handler here needs the DI to, for example, here I added the iLogger from the DI, so it should be in the dependency injection. But the point is here, it tries to add all your command handlers as a transient. Just side point that you need to care. Usually your handlers should not keep any state because they are transient. I want to clear all this stuff. So just to mention, this add iMediatR, this extension method is registering all your handlers and also the MediatR interface. Okay, let's remove the MediatR here. I don't need it anymore. We need to add one extension method on the iService collection. Let's say iService collection extensions should be static class, and I want to say public static void add my MediatR, and it's an extension method on iService collection. That's it. I don't want to use those logic for using the assemblies. It's something else in my opinion. But here we need to just use very simple one. Let me just call that method add my, okay, I need to use my namespace and then calling the method here. Done. Nice. What we need to do, first of all, in a very simple scenario, just we need to add our handlers directly to our DI because they are simply an interface and one implementation. So for example here, our request handler, oh, I need to use, okay. Why is complaining about the user command? Cannot use type parameter this request. Oh, okay. Because the user command needs to implement our new one called my request. Okay, so we don't need this MediatR anymore. So we have our user command handler and my request handler. This is a simple interface and implementation that directly you can add it into the DI and then just inject into your controller or minimal API, right? So for example, here I can say I add transient my request handler. So we have user command and user response, and the implementation is user command handler. That's it. The very simple case, you can use and implement, add all your handlers here, and then inject this request handler into your minimal API and then just call it. But we don't want to use that because you have to inject many handlers into your minimal API. So let's do it just like the MediatR. Another one is add as a scope for our MediatR interface. My MediatR and the implementation. Okay, we didn't implement it yet. So let's implement this interface as well. We need a class, my MediatR, which is implement my MediatR, right? be explicit, should be okay. After we come back here to implement this send method, so let's just put this mediator. So currently we added all the interface, the handlers, and also the implementation of the handlers, and also our own mediator interface to inject. Actually, we want to inject this interface to all minimal APIs and just send the commands to a mediator, and it will take care of the executing the commands, right? As I said, that assemblies is all about injecting these interfaces and implementation to the dependency injection, but we can simply just use this one, okay? We had at my mediator, and then here I want to inject my mediator interface, right? Here, at least the signature is correct. We are calling the send, and then it will send the user response back. But what is the magic for the mediator here? As I mentioned, all you need is injecting the mediator interface and then just send a command. Somewhere else, it will execute that command that is handling by the command handlers, right? So it seems they are independent from each other, but actually they are not. So what we can do here, and actually what mediator itself is doing, when you are calling this send method, it will create new instance of handler and then call that handle method that you put your logic here, this handle method. So what happened here is when you're calling that send, it will trying to get and create new instance at runtime and then call the method for handling the request, returning the response. Okay, we want to implement this flow as well. But the point is how we can create a generic type at runtime, because we don't know currently this interface, this method accepting some generic interface as a my request response. Okay, but when you want to create a new type and then get it from the DI, because as I said, here, mediator trying to add all the handlers, the interface and implementation into the DI, so that when it try to get it from the iService provider, get the new instance, and then just run the handle. When you want to get it from the DI, it will automatically inject all the constructors parameters. So for example, here I have iLogger. I don't want to just manually instantiate the class like new user command handler or something like that, okay? So we need to do it all automatically and a proper way. So what we can do? First of all, in .NET, we can create generic type at runtime like this. I just paste this code here just to show you how we can create a generic type at runtime. So for example, here I want to create a list of a string that is generic class that accept whatever you want, what type you want to put, like string, int, object, anything. At runtime, I want to create one. So how it works is when there is one make generic type method that you can create a type from given parameter. So for example, here you have a generic interface or a generic class. Here my class is list and the type is a string. At the end, I want to have something like this: list string, list of a string, and then I want to add list dot new, and I want to add one string as a hello here. Okay, I want to implement this two line but at runtime and dynamically. So what we want to do is type is string and generic type is list. Okay, just like that, data type and generic base. So by this one, make generic type, you can create and have this type, list of a string. And the magic happens here. This activator class, it's been there from the beginning, I think, but many developers don't know about this activator class, which is very useful. And if you check all the open source or NuGet package libraries that's trying to work with generics, they are trying to create the generic type at runtime using this activator. You are saying that activator create one instance for me. It's actually doing this new keyword for you. For example, here we have the combine type, that is the list of a string, and then create instance is actually doing this line for me. Okay? At the end, because create instance always return an object because it doesn't know about the actual type. It just returns the object. And then because we know what we are trying to create, we try to cast this string to list of a string, and then we add the hello. Okay? So instead of this 2 line that is manually at compile time we are trying to create, at runtime by these 4 lines we can create what we want. Okay? What's the point here? Why I'm trying to explain this activator class? Because we need this activator class to create those handlers at runtime, because we don't know. We just have one handle method that accepting the generic type. I might request some implementation, some command, but should support everything. Every command handlers that is in my application should support it in the MediatR to create the new instance and then call handle method. Okay? I want to put these lines into my MediatR send. First of all, let me just paste these lines here. We added all the handlers in the DI, okay? Now we need to retrieve those handlers from DI and then call method handle. For that one, we need to use iService provider. We can use iService scope factory, but here is enough, I think. We have a request that is my request interface and one response. Another point here, you cannot just simply calling the service provider. So for example, if I want to say service provider get required service, it's not possible to say, I don't know, my request T response, and then you can see that it's not possible. When you are trying to retrieve one type from here, the generic type should be explicit, and then this method get required service trying to know what you want exactly. Okay, so this interface is fine, but what parameter you want to pass here? What kind of commands is coming to your method? You cannot use simply, okay, type of, for example, I don't know, like request, something like that. Okay, so let's do it. It's kind of simple. Another point here is we need to have the type, not interface here, for making the generic. For example, here, if I want to use the iList, it kind of misleading generic type and cannot create the object what you want exactly, because there is a lot of implementation of that interface. So what we can do, I just paste these lines to saving the time, and let's see what we have here. As I said, for the generic base, you need to have the type, the class here, not the interface, to create the explicit object. So what we can do, we already have those iMediator or request handler containing the handle method to handling our commands. But here I try to wrap those implementation into another class. What's the reason? The reason simply is we need to pass a service provider, because in iMediator interface, you don't see any service provider because simply you just passing the user command here. And we are trying to create this wrapper, this actually kind of decorator. And let's see if I remove this line here. I just paste this code here. Let's take a little time to talk about this one. This is the generic class at runtime that I explained what it is and what we're trying to achieve here. First of all, our class contains two generic, that is my request and then T response. Okay. So exactly like here that we are trying to create a list of a string, here we are trying to create handler, exactly this one actually. We are trying to create an object that is implementing this interface containing this user command, which is the myRequest and some class as a response. And also we have the user response as a return or response type. We are passing these types request.getType because we are getting requests here and type of T response. And then we are trying to get type of our generic base. What we had here is the generic list. Okay. But I want to create a decorator implementation which contains two interface or two generic type here, request, response, right? And after I try to make the generic type, here I had it before, make generic type, and at runtime it tried to create list of a string, and actually here it create this type for me. And then based on this type, I want to create this new instance for me. And because this create instance always return object, we have to cast it to another type that is what we need actually. Why I need to cast this class here? Because I want to have a method that returns T response for me. Because all this iMediator doing is calling the send method and then getting back a response. Okay? So at the end, we need to have a class that have handle method, something like this. We can handle this one and just call handle method. But here the point is we are sending the service provider. Very important point about it, because iMediator itself trying to hide extra things that developer needs to do. You just need to pass your command and then your cancellation token, done. You don't need to worry about, okay, how can I get this implementation of the handler from the DI? It does everything for you behind the scenes. We are trying to see what's going on. So, okay, we have this service provider from the DI injected in the constructor, and then simply we can pass it into this handle. Okay. This is the last part of our journey for implementing the mediator. Simply, we can get the last part, which is implementation of the handler, which is the user command handler, and then call the handle method. Your actual logic that you're putting in this method for doing everything, okay? And then service provider, get require service. I try to get request handler, T response, and then request and response. Very simple, right? Because here, when you are calling it, you actually specifying the type at runtime. And then here you know what is type, and the dependency injection knows what you want. That's it. Let's run the project and put this breakpoint here. I hope you get the idea of what I'm doing here. Okay, let's remove all this necessary line and calling the API again. There is no mediator package and the signature is the same. So just let's see if it works or not. Okay, it's running, and then I want to call the API, user command, mediator. That's it. Let's go here. So what we have here, our request is type of user command with the name mediator, the property name. So I want to put these types, right? User command and user response. What all we need to create this type at runtime. Let's move on. And then I want to create this decorator implementation. That's fine. And at the end, this line is creating instance of the object, and I can call this handle method because if you see here, I cast it to request handler decorator, this one, which contains the handle method, but in our implementation, we override it. Okay, we are here, service provider, get require service. This is user command. Let me put another breakpoint here. We expect that after calling this handle method, which is coming from my request handler, should hit this breakpoint, right, and done. That's it. I think we successfully generate the mediator. Maybe you ask, okay, you have only one handler here and nothing more. Let's put another command. I want to create, for example, user update command, which again accepting the name, and it's implementing my request. And let's just put that user response. Here I want to add another handler, class user update command handler, which is implementing my request handler, user update command, and returning user response. We need to implement that set. Let's inject the logger. Okay, let's follow the best practice and put the read-only as well. And just put this one, hello user, let's see, update command and update. Also, we need to add it to the dependency injection as well. So here, user update and user update. Okay, that's it. I think we don't need to do anything more. Just here, let's just call the mediator again. Response is the same. Just I want to send another command as updated. Okay. And we can check the logs. Let's run the project and then let's see. Currently we have two handlers, two commands. Imagine that in your project you have lots of commands, queries. All you need to do is just implementing your handlers and it should work. Okay. So if we check, yeah, first one is trying to run user command and second one is trying to run the user update command, which means our user handler at runtime, we successfully created generic type of our handlers, implementation type, and then run and execute the handle method, trying to execute the logic all the mediator is doing for us. And this is the custom one. I mean, for sure, there is a lot of other features or complexity in the NuGet package, the MediatR. For example, you have the notification as well. You have different type of the requests. Some of them no need to return any response or returning just void or unit. And also it has another features like the behavioral interfaces or stream requests. That's it. But I wanted to try to implement the main idea. The main idea is you have your command and handler that at runtime you can create your handler based on the command and then execute the code. Okay, what we achieved here, we could create one type at runtime based on the generic type and then get type, get the class from the dependency injection, run the handle method, and then execute the logic, right? That's all. It's all about the mediator trying to do for us. Thanks to them. It's really cool. It's simple, as they are saying here. If I go to the mediator GitHub, you can see that also the creator saying that simple, unambitious mediator implementation in the .NET. It's really simple. If you try to check the code here, you can see that in that send method that we put our logic for creating instance, it's the same logic, but we try to make it a little simpler. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I try to make it a little simpler than the main version, but I promise that this is what they are doing at the main idea. Okay, so make sure you're subscribed. If you have any question, any comments, if you want to see how MediatR to implement, for example, notification as well, please leave a comment for me. I try to create another video for you about the notification, how we can implement our own notification handler. Thank you for your time. Bye.